Well, it's been a tough week for the Dallas Stars, and many are hitting the panic button. Is it time to panic? I'm here to tell you why you shouldn't next on Locked On Stars.
Your Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm Joe Erickson, former producer 105 Through the Fan and play-by-play voice of the Chippewa Steel. Be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. As always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Is it time to panic? That is my question of the day for you Stars fans, because they've lost 3 out of their last 5, and coming off a trounce of the Vegas Golden Knights on Saturday afternoon by the final score of 6-1. And I feel like many are freaking out a bit, and we're getting some hyperbolic takes, to be completely honest. I'm here to put you at ease with my wonderful words about this is exactly who we thought the Stars were, and they will be okay moving forward. But they do need a spark. Who can provide that spark? And of course, Mr. Showtime, Patrick Kane and the Detroit Red Wings are in town, as the Stars could really use a win, and we will touch on that as well. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. So I want to preface this conversation with, I'm a pretty glass half full kind of guy when it comes to my sports fandom. I don't jump ship very easily. Got a lot of loyalty in me, and maybe that comes at a cost at some points. But I'm seeing a lot of wild, crazy things being said now about some specific players and just in general about the Stars. And I want to see if I can put a stop to that to some degree. Look, the Stars are the same team that we thought they were going to be, and they're in the same position they were last year. Through 26 games, they had 33 points. Same exact record almost. I think there's a one win or one loss that can be exchanged. They're completely fine. Every team goes through these stretches. They've given up more than 4 goals in 6 out of their last games. That's not going to continue to happen. I really don't. Even for how really bad this Stars defense has been, I really don't see that happening. This team has been emphatically in the top 10 of goals against average for the past few seasons. They're going to clean that up. Also, they've surrendered the first goal in 4 out of their last 5 games too. And that's with actually having pretty decent starts. And to touch a bit on the Vegas game, I really don't think they played all that bad. I thought it was probably the best you could have played in the first period and be down by 3 goals. Look, the gap between them and Vegas, who I think is the best team in the NHL, they have a great chance to go back-to-back. The gap is really big. But we kind of know that. Vegas is really, really deep. And, of course, it hurt not to have Roope Hintz out there. But the Stars have played a really tough stretch. They've played like 7 games in the last 11 days, or it's like 6-10, and they've played very good opponents that are all in the thick of the playoff race. It's a tough stretch, and then to have to come home and then play a Saturday afternoon game against Vegas was a tough spot. And now I want to get into the conversation revolving around Otter, because I think it's laughable, some of the things that I've consumed about Mr. Oettinger. It's now, he's just not good enough. He's not the number one we thought. I've even read some things, well, at least his contract's okay. Like, we're really going to start getting into his money. You're looking through the tiniest of holes, and we need to somewhat remove ourselves from that. I think it's laughable to think that all of a sudden we're going to, jump ship on a 25-year-old netminder in his second full season in the National Hockey League, who helped carry you to a Western Conference final, albeit he wasn't phenomenal, but he was injured during that playoff run. And he carried you to a Western Conference final. And I know he wasn't even phenomenal in the playoffs last year or a huge stud, but come on. Really? That's what we're going to? Look, his numbers so far this year are not off what his career averages are. .905 save percentage, 2.84 goals against average. And look, he has not been very good lately. I completely agree. But I think it's very unfair to now have this conversation that he's just not good enough. And that's also with, we understand that this defense is not very good and something needs to happen. They need to find a solution, because it certainly isn't all on him, even though he has not looked up to the level that we expect him to. He's lost 3 straight now, 3 out of his last 5, but his career average, he's played in 158 games, a 2.47 goals against average and a 914 save percentage. It's not that far off. I think recency bias is starting to creep in a bit. And yeah, he hasn't looked good. I'm right there with you, but I think we need to ease up on Otter a bit, because they need to figure out a way to play way better in front of them. You see how Vegas played the other night? That's how you play in front of your netminder. And that's why they have 2 goaltenders in the top 5 of goal save above expected too. Look, and part of that is great goaltending, but Vegas shuts down opponents. And the Stars need to get back to that a bit. They could really help him out. For sure. And I think people need to ease up. Part of it is it's a confidence thing. Goaltending is 90% mental, and Otter's confidence may be a bit shook right now, but I think he's going to be okay. I really do. The Stars are going to start playing better, and I think he's going to find his game again. It's been a bad little month now. But all things told, he's still in a pretty good position, just outside the top 10 and save percentage and goals against average. Of course, we want him to be comfortably inside around the top 5. I raise my hand to that too. But he's going to be okay. Also, I thought they played pretty decently against Vegas, and they've played pretty well at the start of some of these losses lately, where they've really kind of dominated play in the first 5 minutes and they give up the first goal. And sometimes that just happens. That's not going to continue. I don't see that as a trend that continues to happen. They're going to get their confidence and they're going to find their offense. They've been able to score pretty decently, actually. And the offense has somewhat not even been a huge issue, but they need to start finding leads. They've played from behind a ton. They've surrendered a 3-1 lead, I think 2 of the last 3. It's not a way to play hockey, and we understand that. I think that's going to change too. They're going to pot in some goals right away, and they're going to start getting their ball rolling. But I feel like there's this now conversation that, oh my God, Otter's just so bad, and this team isn't good. Look, they're second place in the Central Division, and they haven't even scratched the surface really on playing their best hockey yet. And we're 26 games into the year. And 2, I don't care that they got killed by Vegas on Saturday to some degree. Congrats. It's in December. Wake me up in April when it really matters. And there is something to be said for, at some point, like, this is going to come back to bite them. And I get that, but I don't think the West is very that good. They're comfortably in a playoff spot. Colorado just got beat by Philadelphia the other night too. Every team goes through this. There's ebbs and flows. And I think they're just on a bit of an ebb right now. And they're going to get back to what we've seen. They just have too many pieces, too many playmakers. And yes, we all agree that they need help. And it's more than likely going to have to come from outside the organization. And I'm not trying to push that out of the way. And I'm not going to try to convince you that, the defense is phenomenal now. That's not what I'm here to do. I think the conversation needs to be a bit more fair about this team. We realized coming into the year, the defense is going to be a weakness. It's probably worse than a lot of people expected because not a lot has panned out. Miro's had a very frustrating year. Harley's panned out, which is about the only good news. Hakanpää and Lindell have been okay. They haven't been as worse as last year, but they've still had their issues. And Lundqvist, the coaching staff still doesn't really trust him that much, even if they should. And, there's plenty of conversations we can get into that. But I don't think it's time to hit the panic button quite yet. It's still very, very early, and they're almost first place in the Central Division. And look, I know there's a lot of teams hunting them, and we want to see them play good hockey, and I think they'll get to that. It was a really, really tough stretch when you look at it. Those are some very good opponents. All of them are in a playoff spot for the majority. I want to say 6 out of their last 8 are in a playoff position. They now have 3 of their next 4 that they are facing are not currently in the playoffs or outside the bubble right now, even though they are rather closely. And they're going to figure it out. Pete DeBoer spoke post-game about he needs to find ways for them to defend better and create chances. And yes, they have to defend better, and we've been barking about that forever at this point, and that's kind of beating a dead horse. I just don't see this trend of them giving up 4 and 6 of their last 8 continues. I think they're just too good. I don't think they're that bad. I really don't. And there's been some fluky bounces in there, and the puck luck hasn't always been on their side as well. But for certain, they need a spark. They certainly need a spark. And I'm going to tell you who can provide that and why they certainly need it in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience, that's what brings home the winning trophy. It is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. So who can provide a spark for the Dallas Stars? I would love for you to let me know as well in the comment section. Who on this Dallas Stars squad could really start leading the charge here in this next stretch, because they certainly need it. And I guess the easy answer to this question would probably be Maverick Bourque or Logan Stankoven, who are completely just destroying the American Hockey League right now. But I've gotten into it before. It's just not an option with all the cap space issues and all that. So that's just not going to happen this year, even though we would like it to. So I think the top line can really get this team going again. Pavelski, Robertson, and Hintz are leading the Dallas Stars in terms of scoring this year, which is pretty crazy. Pavelski with 25 points has 11 goals. Robertson with 24. Roope now has 22 points in his first 24 games. But we haven't seen that sustained dominance that we've seen in the past couple of seasons. And I think if that trio can really hit their stride again, and we kind of saw it in the third period of that Washington game last week, man, this team can go off and running. If you look at the expected goals for some of these lines that have played at least 130 minutes, Marchment, Duchesne, and Sagan are in the top 5 at 12.6. You have to go down to 17th to see Robertson, Pavelski, and Hintz. And you have to even go lower for expected goals percentage. And these are some things that the Pavelski trio has been comfortably in the top 10 in. You have to go down to 25 to find Robertson, Pavelski, and Hintz, and the Johnston line is right behind that at 47%. I think Hintz and that line can really, really provide a next level ability for this offense. And I think they need to. They need them to be back as one of the top lines in the NHL. And it's hard to fully criticize them too, because they are the 3 leading scorers, but they need to help in different aspects. And I thought they've been very diligent and their defensive zone work too. Robertson and Pavelski were very responsible on Saturday against Vegas, which is a great sign. But man, they need to get going. Robertson needs to find his goal scoring touch, especially just 8 goals on the year. They're struggling on the power play to get him chances. He only has 3 power play goals so far on the year. He had 14, or I think 15 last season. And look, teams are taking him away. They need to get him in different positions. Adapt, find ways to get him open and get chances. Because if he's rocking and rolling, man, this team will go in a hurry. And like I mentioned, the easy answer would probably be, well, I need to bring somebody in from the outside. But at this point, they are all relying on themselves. Also, Sam Steele played a great game in the absence with Hintz. He played up with Hintz, Ben and Johnston, or Ben and Dodonov, and he had a great game score, 1.73. He graded out. He did take a couple of penalties, but was one of the few bright spots, I feel like, in the game for the Stars, and he's playing really well recently. He is playing every day. And DeBoer seems to have a lot of trust in him. And I like his game. He has a little bit of that snarl, and he's physical. And I like that you can kind of put him anywhere in the lineup, and he's going to make it comfortable and find a way to be effective. And that's always good to have pieces deep in your lineup, depth as we call it, and they can get the job done. So excellent job by Sam Steele too. But that top line, I think, is very, very instrumental for this Stars team to get where they need to be, because you see the teams like Vegas, they have that top line with Eichel and Stone and Marchessault that are just so good and creative and can make plays off the rush. We haven't quite seen that with the Stars recently. They've created a lot, or they've turned the puck over at the blue line way too much. And we saw 3 or 4 goals for Vegas yesterday, just puck mistakes from Dallas in their own zone and at the opposing line that just cannot happen. And it shouldn't, with how talented these guys are. And we've seen them dominate before. Robertson needs to create a spark. For the majority of the year, he's just been kind of by the wayside, and that's really concerning. And part of it is due, I think, to him not being very effective on the power play. But at 5-on-5, he just needs to find a way to score. And if that's just getting to the dirty areas and, scoring more in and around the net, like Sagan has been doing this season, and he's having a great resurgence, then he needs to do that. But we haven't seen him be able to, kind of maneuver his way. He's usually like butter working through a defense and get that shot off. It hasn't quite come to fruition yet. And that's also a reason why I think we need to ease off on a bit of, the hot takes on this Stars team is this line hasn't even been dominant, and Robertson hasn't even got going, and they're still have 33 points in second place in the Central Division. There is so much good hockey in front of this team from some really, really good key important players that they will be just fine. And the defense at this point, we just have to expect it's not going to be good. And I feel like I did a whole week of episodes last week. If you want to go back and listen to those about like, when is this going to be fixed? They need help, and they may need it very quickly. But right now, this is what we're rocking with. And to some degree, we expected that. And they need to find answers in a hurry from other guys. Because it's not going to work come playoff time. And that's always my big picture too. And I realize at the same time that this is not going to work playoff time. It's not good enough. Can it win a round? Yeah, I don't know if it can win 2 with the state that they are, unless they start getting some guys going or some guys figure out their game, because there's just some players that are having down years. And Miro's up there, even along with Robertson. And that's crazy to say because, 3 of them are all leading the way in scoring for the Stars this season. But they certainly need to find their groove. And, Pete DeBoer, we're putting it on him. This is his time to shine, right? We brought him in. He had a great first year, and he's done that in many places. It's what happens after that that can usually be the issue. And now it's time to start seeing some adjustments, some time, and he's trying by all means, look, he's delivered some healthy scratches out, which has kind of been the year of healthy scratches. There's been some really good players this year that have been watching games from the press box. Johnny Gaudreau and Line up in Columbus. Man, it's been a funky year, I feel like, for a lot of clubs. And, Edmonton is figuring themselves out now. I think it's just one of those seasons for a lot of teams. It's such a urgence to play your best hockey right away. And that's just really hard. And there's tons of hockey left. We still have more than halfway to go in this season. I think there's a lot of fun things on the table for the Star Squad, including tonight, by the way. Mr. Patty Kane has returned, coming off his first goal as a Detroit Red Wing a few days ago, and now he's in Dallas. He's had some good years against the Stars too. Hopefully the Stars don't allow a repeat of that, and we'll touch on that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Sleeper. A new NHL season brings all sorts of possibilities. Jason Robertson could score 50 goals. It doesn't look like it, however. I'll be completely honest. The Stars could hoist the Stanley Cup, and to be honest, we've kind of maybe had to halt those conversations as well, but it doesn't matter, okay? Because you can win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports, and especially daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. All you have to do is pick studs like your McDavids, your Crosbys, the McKinnons. Pick more or less on certain sleeper projections for like goals, assists, saves, plus minus in a given game. You can also play NFL, NBA, by the way. So if you want to prop up on a Sunday, watch some football, you can do that as well. But when it's hockey time, go ahead, win 100 times your bet on Sleeper when you could correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me, Stars fans. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention, nail those picks, and you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL, and you'll get it to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and with location availability. So the Dallas Stars are taking on the Detroit Red Wings tonight, who have lost two straight, and they're having a good year. They're having a nice bounce back season, 32 points. That's third in the Atlantic Division, and they are in a playoff spot. And it's fun to see that too. I think it's good for the game that the Red Wings are good. Of course, it's an original 6 team. I miss them being in the same conference as the Dallas Stars too, man. Growing up and going to those games against some of those Red Wings teams, which were just complete buzzsaws. It was always fun, and they always seem to travel well. Or maybe there's just a ton of Red Wings fans in Dallas, but it's always a Christmas kind of theme, and it's perfect in December. You got all the red and now the Victor Green that will be painting the American Airlines Center. Well, they score a ton of goals. This Detroit team, 97 goals, which is second in the league so far. And they're having big years from DeBrincat and Larkin, both of them with 25 points. Larkin, who took a hit last game against Ottawa, he's out with a concussion. They don't know how long he's going to be. The x-rays, from what I just read, they did come back negative, but there is no timetable for his return. So I don't think we're going to see Larkin for the foreseeable future. And more than likely not tonight. But Patty Kane's the big, signee for them a few weeks ago. And I've watched a few of their games, man, and he looks pretty good. He scored his first goal the other night, even though it wasn't a win. But he does all the things that you would expect from Patrick Kane, man. He's just so crafty, and he doesn't look like he's really slowed down. He certainly lost a step, but coming off that injury, he's looked okay. And he's playing along with DeBrincat. Of course, those two go back to their Chicago days, and they had wonderful chemistry and actually lit up the league a little bit with them too. So I'm sure we're going to get a ton of Patty Kane, and he's played quite a bit. They haven't limited him that much. They're of course being cautious with him, but taking a look at his time on ice numbers, trying to see it. So about 18 minutes. And of course, that's only in 2 games now. But that's quite a bit for a guy that's coming off a hip surgery. And they could do it. But Stars will look to quell this young Red Wings team that's been playing pretty good, but they lost 2 straight. And they just need to be better at home in general. So far, they're just 6-5-1 at the American Airlines Center. And it used to be such an advantage. They used to just pound teams in their own building. And it just hasn't been the case now dating back to last season. They've been much better on the road. And they need to find something here against Detroit. And as I mentioned, they have a decent stretch coming up. You got Nashville and Seattle, some teams that are on the bubble. Ottawa, of course, who's in the basement of the NHL. Like, you can pick up some points and pick up some wins. And this is a very, very important 5-game stretch heading in to, kind of Christmas break, or at least Christmas time. So to speak. So I think this is a big game. Please drop your predictions below. I think the Stars get a win, man. This team always handles adversity well. They have so much leadership, and they're going to find their groove, man. And then a week from now, we're going to be talking about how great this Dallas Stars team is, and it's all, rainbows and butterflies, and why we ever thought they couldn't do it. And like I said, I'm a pretty positive guy. So, some of you may not want to hear it, and that's why you got to let me know in the comment section that maybe I'm glazing too much and not being for real. But I've watched this team now for a few years with this kind of core, and I'll believe it when I see it. I'll jump off the ship when it truly matters. I want to thank everybody once again. Another great week of Locked On Stars. Your feedback and just your engagement is so fun. I love just talking hockey. So I appreciate this community. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcast. Continue to grow this community, man. Stars Talk every single day. Shout out all you everydayers out there as well who stick around with me and hear me ramble like I'm doing. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, JoeyTheJet19 of the X thing. I throw some stuff out there. I had a weird weekend, crazy weekend. I had a game that I was calling it. We had a glass shatter on a hit. One of our players hammered this guy into the sidewall, and then his leg kicked up and hit the glass. I mean, his blade hit the glass and the thing shattered. I retweeted a video on my Twitter. If you want to go take a look at that. First time I've ever seen that in person, at least. I know glass breaks quite a bit, but I just couldn't believe it. It was pretty wild that his skate hit the glass and then it shattered. And we had like an hour delay. The game took almost over 3 hours. So pretty crazy weekend of hockey. And that was right after Stars got, hammered, which wasn't very fun as well leading in to the game I was working. But we did win. So I guess I kind of evened out for the night. Okay, enough of me, all the personal stuff. I want to thank you once again. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, December 11th. Happy holidays, by the way. This is a great time of year. It's getting cold. It's hockey season, and the Stars are going to get a win tonight. Bookmark it. Guarantee it. Maybe not bookmark it in case it doesn't go my way. Anyways, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll have a live reaction after, of course, and we'll break it down tomorrow. Can't wait to see you on Locked On Stars as always. So long, Stars fans.